been my dream since I started riding, so you know, I feel really, really good. I'm really happy, but it's been a long way. You know, I've been working really hard, and you know, if I wouldn't believe that I can be a world champion one day, I wouldn't do that. You know, but let's say from the middle of the season, you know, I could see the light in the end of the tunnel a little bit. You know, and then since that time, I've been really focused on winning the title.
It was just a relief to be back on top, because I know I know my possibilities, and I know that I was coming from two difficult years. We start very strong, and we win this title.
Another year in the books. 2 riders are now at the top of the world. But let's go back in time and discover how Tony and Pauls became FIM Motocross World Champions in 2017.
The MX2 class for 2017 is possibly the most open it's been in a long time, so let's give you a heads up as to who to look out for this season. With Jeffrey Hurlings and Max Anstey moving into MXGP, all eyes will undoubtedly be on the rider who finished runner-up in 2016, Jeremy Seewer. The Suzuki World MX2 rider impressed last year and found the podium 10 times, and will no doubt be looking for that first GP win as well as the world title. But it won't be easy, and here's why. Benoit Paturel has claimed 4 career podiums. 3 of those came last year on his way to 3rd overall, and make no doubt about it, the Khmer official Yamaha rider will be a serious challenger for the MX2 crown. Despite missing the last 5 rounds through injury, Pauls Jonas will be aiming to add the MX2 title to his already impressive CV. So far, the Red Bull KTM factory racing pilot has claimed the 85 and 125 European titles, the 125 Junior World Championship, and was MX2 runner-up in 2015. And the Latvian has to start as one of the favourites. He's also just one of 3 riders to have won an MX2 race coming into this season. 2016 was a breakout year for HSF Logistics Motorsports' Brian Vogers of the Netherlands, and with 2 visits to the podium, he'll no doubt be looking for the top step as he aims to improve on 6 overall last year. He'll be partnered with Calvin Belandren and Davy Puches in what is a very strong team indeed. It's been a tough few seasons for the Italian Samuele Bernardini, but in what was something of a comeback year for the TM factory rider, the 3-2-1 certainly left his mark last year. He narrowly missed out on the podium on 3 occasions, and his 8th overall in the final standings should see him as a force to be reckoned with in 2017. Bulgaria's Petr Petrov is another rider who's had a tough couple of seasons, but 2 podiums in 2 years means the Monster Energy Kawasaki rider should not be counted out. He has a new teammate this year in the form of Adam Sterry, and the Brit is pretty rapid at the drop of a gate, so don't be surprised to see both riders running up front. As we head into 2017, just 1 rider on this year's grid has won an MX2 Grand Prix, and that's the American Tomas Covington. After switching to the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna factory racing team in 2016, TC64 really upped his game. With 2 race wins under his belt as well, Covington knows how to get the job done and will be looking to get off to a flyer here in Qatar. Finally, 1 rider to definitely look out for is Red Bull KTM Factory Racing's Jorge Prado, who almost pulled off a shock race win over Jeffrey Hurlings at Assen on his MX2 debut last year. The kid is rapid out of the start, and if his rivals give him half a sniff at leading a race, he will be tough to beat.
Yeah, Qatar was you know, first GP of the year. It was not easy, you know, for sure, extra pressure, and everyone's watching that, but I felt really good. I felt strong, and we had a really good off season, so I was confident going in the race. And you know, it was not easy. Patrol was always pressuring me in that race, but I went 1-1, and that was my first GP wins.
It's been a productive winter with various riders switching bikes or teams or both. Here's a quick guide as to the movers and shakers in MXGP, starting with the defending champions, Tim Geiser and HRC. Double world champion Tim Geiser will hope to make it 3 in a row this year and back-to-back titles in MXGP. He remains at Honda, but the Garibaldi team he raced for last year becomes the official Team HRC for 2017. Alongside Geiser is the Russian Evgeny Bobashev, who enters his 7th season with the mighty Japanese giants. After a 2-year hiatus, the Volvo Yamaha MXGP rider Arno Tomas makes his debut in the MXGP class and will be looking to impress on his return. Alongside him is Shaun Simpson, who finds himself back in blue in what has been a team and machine change for the 3-time Grand Prix winner. The last time he raced a Yamaha, he claimed his maiden Grand Prix victory in 2013, and armed with factory machinery, expect Simpson and Tomas to be a threat from the very first round. Perhaps one of the biggest changes is Gauthier Paulhan's move to Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing. Third in 2012 and runner-up in 2015, last year was over before it began after a back injury left him on the sidelines. It'll be interesting to see how he gels with the Husky. Max Nagel enters his 3rd season with Husqvarna, and after finishing 3rd last year, the German will be looking to win that elusive title, and it'll be interesting to see the dynamic between him and Paulhan as the season unfolds. Valentin Guillot swaps blue for red as he joins Team Honda Red Moto. He's also parted ways with his trainer Yves Demarié, and the 3-time MX2 Grand Prix winner hopes his fresh outlook will come with its rewards. Moving to MXGP are 3-time MX2 World Champion Jeffrey Herlings and former 3rd place finisher Max Anstey. Herlings has already shown us a glimpse of what we can expect at last year's Motocross of Nations and will be itching to get off to a flyer here in Qatar, a place he has never lost. As for Max Anstey, he remains with Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing but moves next door to join Nagel and Paulhan, and many people think he might just suit the bigger bike, but will he be a title threat? We can never rule out former champion Romain Febvre, who'll be looking to bounce back from last year's injury-hit campaign. The Monster Energy Yamaha rider found it difficult to defend the crown and will be keen to regain the title. Antonio Cairoli has gone 2 years without a title now. Injury and young guns have kept him from adding to his 8 championships, but ignore him at your peril. The Red Bull KTM rider took 3 victories last year, and the neutrals amongst us would love to see him win again. Only time will tell. Jeremy van Horebeek seems rejuvenated in 2017 and could be a dark horse and a serious contender for the crown. If he can deal with the pressure he puts on himself, expect him to be in the hunt. Last year's move to Monster Energy Kawasaki didn't go according to plan for Clément de Sales in what was an injury-hit campaign, but the MX Panda still managed to claim a Grand Prix victory before the season was over, and he has to be taken seriously, as always. Finally, Kevin Schreiber surprised us all last year by winning his first Grand Prix in 9 years. If he stays healthy, he still has the potential to make the top 3, certainly the top 5. Either way, we wish Kevin and everyone else in MXGP the very best of luck in 2017.
We start very strong with the win in Qatar, and you know, because I wanna be sure, you know, that you know, everything was working well also for the World Championship, and it was like that. So I was very motivated to after the first GP. Yeah.
After the season opener in Qatar, we have flown straight to Bangka Island in Indonesia. From the modern and contemporary to the more old, rural and traditional surroundings of Pangkal Pinang.
sure Indonesia was tough for everyone, you know. It was raining all the time, track was muddy, so it was tough. For sure, I liked the mud actually, but it was just bad luck, you know. First race I was leading and then got stuck in the mud, and second race, yeah, okay, bike problems, that happens sometimes, so it was just bad luck. I would not say that it was very, very bad race, but it was, yeah, I was not lucky there.
As the race draw to a close, the ruts got deeper. Despite the sun coming out, the red flag was thrown with just over 7 minutes to go. Bernardini took his first ever race win, but it was Jeremy Seewer who backed up race 1 victory with the overall Grand Prix ahead of Bernardini and Julian Lieber, who now leads the World Championship by 6 points over Seewer and Benoit Paturel. A memorable Grand Prix here in MX2 then, this weekend in Indonesia. Especially for that man right there, Julian Lieber, the new championship leader.
In MXGP, the conditions were challenging, but Shaun Simpson managed to take the lead after battling with Jeffrey Hurlings and Glenn Coldenhoff for what was, in the end, the one and only MXGP race of the weekend due to the worsening weather conditions.
In MX2, privateer Julian Lieber arrived here with the red plate after an epic battle in Indonesia. But Seewer and Paturel, who are perhaps a little bit more used to that winning feel, are on the hunt right behind him. In MXGP, Tony Cairoli has kept that red plate since Qatar, but with only the one race in Indonesia, the battle is closer than ever. Welcome to Neuquén for the MXGP of Patagonia, Argentina.
Coming into race 2, Benoit Paturel, the Khmer Yamaha rider, was the new championship leader after the misfortunes of Julian Lieber. But Paturel suffered a poor start, rounding out lap 1 outside the top 20, as once again Prado took another foxhole shot. This time Jeremy Seewer was well placed on his Suzuki World MX2 machine in third, behind the 41 of Pauls Jonas. The three riders then started to pull clear of the rest of the field that included Lieber, Bernardini and Sinai, Brent Van Donnick and Adam Sterry. Once again though, it didn't take long, Jonas, to find his way past his teammate, Prado. The two Red Bull KTMs put on a show, but Seewer was right there, ready to pounce. Lieber was having a great ride, but was no match for the guys ahead of him. Maybe that's the difference between a privateer and a factory bike. The two Rockstar Energy Husqvarnas came crashing down after Tomas Covington mistimed his move on his teammate Thomas Cairoli. Both riders had to battle back through the field. Meanwhile, Seewer was up into second with that move on Prado. Pauls Jonas though went on to take a second moto win. It was an emphatic double moto victory for him. Seewer second, Prado third, and that was also the overall podium. Jonas, Prado and Seewer. Seewer now though takes over the championship lead. He will have the red plate on the Suzuki in Lyon.
Argentina it's a track that I really like, but I made some mistakes, some crashes, and I wasn't able, to keep the red plate. But I was very still motivated because my speed was there and my condition was there. So it was just a matter of put myself on a right position on the right moment. Yeah.
Mexico actually The weekend started good. Like Saturday I felt good and everything was going good, and then Sunday morning in a warm-up I had a crash, and I had to spend some time in a medical unit. They put I don't know, 8 stitches on my elbow, so that was also the reason why the result maybe wasn't the best. So I was a little bit struggling there, you know. I was just like 40 minutes before the race I came out from the medical center and with the stitches in my elbow, so I had to try to ride, you know, with the painkillers and everything. So it was quite tough, and I was actually happy about the race to go home with 4th place overall.
We are in the country of 8 times world champion Tony Cairoli, who is actually 20 points behind our red plate holder Tim Geiser. But I'm sure Tony's going to try and outshine him in front of his home fans.
Trentino the Italian Gp is always very, very difficult because so many fans coming, and you know, they already put pressure on me like 1 or 2 months before the race, because they think there is only that race, you know, for them. There is no championship. So for me it's very, very difficult. So I want to do good there, and first moto was perfect. Second moto, a little crash in the start, and then I say, okay, now it's very difficult to make to the podium. But you know, while I was riding, I felt them, you know, a lot, you know, around the track, and so I give everything I had, and I finally find one spot where I could pass many riders, and yeah, it was really one of my best moto of the year, and also the career. I think one of the best.
Cairoli then pushed the German wide. That was Nagel being pushed down. The German would eventually drop to 9th place as Cairoli then went after his teammate. Took him 2 laps to get past Koldenhoff, but once he did, he was up and running in 7th. Bobryshev was doing a great job in 2nd, but Cairoli wasn't taking anything from anybody. He was relentless in his pursuit of World Championship points. This pass on Tomas was the turning point, though, for the Italian. He got himself up into 6th with that pass on Tomas. In the same place a lap later, it was that move on Paulin that got Cairoli into 5th. Guess what? He wasn't done yet. Clement de Sal was next, in exactly the same place on the track. Cairoli now up into 4th, and the overall Grand Prix victory was looking good. He found his way past Jeffrey Hurlings to go 3rd. That would tie him for the overall with Tim Geiser. But one more move with just over a lap to go, and Cairoli was past Bobryshev to get himself into 2nd in what would turn out to be a Grand Prix winning position if he could stay there. Tim Geiser couldn't do any more than he was doing. He took the race win, but it was Antonio Cairoli who crossed the line for an impressive victory here in Italy, doing almost the impossible.
Trentino Arco maybe is not my favorite track, but you know, like the atmosphere and everything, it was nice to get back to Europe, you know, again, and you know, like racing in Europe is always different than going overseas. You know, everyone is there, all the team and the team trucks and everything. So I was happy actually, because like Saturday I struggled a little bit, but then for Sunday I made a click and went 1-2, so for 2nd overall, and which was pretty good.
I got a whole shot, and then just before the takeoff, I just got a kick and lost the control of the bike, and luckily I didn't land, but just next to the public. So I'm really lucky that nothing happened. Could be a really big crash, like worsen than what it is.
MX2 race 2. Charging down into turn 1, it was Jorge Prado this time with his 4th foxhole shot of the year. Julian Lieber was second, but then got hit from behind by Brian Sue. It was rider error from the Belgian, and he would pick himself up but would go straight back to the paddock. Jeremy Seawer had a much better start this time, so too did Conrad Muse, but then the young Brit fell from 4th position. He would remount, but he too would fail to score points in the second race. Jeremy Seawer got alongside the American Darian Sanai on the Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki. That pushed him down to 4th, and it wasn't long before Petr Petrov came through on his Monster Energy Kawasaki in what was a good ride for the Bulgarian back from injury. Brent Van Donnik again on the Khmer Yamaha was putting in a good showing, but another bad start for the Belgian meant he was having to carve through the field once more. Tomas Covington had one crash too many that left the bike a little bit second-hand, and a dejected American walked disconsolately back to the pits. His race was done. Brian Sue was having a fantastic ride on the Maraget Husqvarna. The number 81 eventually had to yield that second position to Jeremy Seawer at about the halfway point of the race. Brent Van Donnik once again put in another spirited ride in front of his Belgian fans, and of course the many Dutch fans as well. Got himself in 3rd with that pass on Brian Sue, who is certainly a star in the making. Thomas Cairoli also found his way through, as did Hunter Lawrence in the closing stages. Brian Sue would eventually come home in 6th. Paul Jonas, though, took the checkered flag for the 7th time this season ahead of Jeremy Seawer and Brent Van Donnik, with Thomas Cairoli and Hunter Lawrence rounding out the top 5. And the podium, the same as it was in race 2. Jonas, Seawer and Van Donnik on the podium for the first time in 2017 for Khmer.
It's nice to be back in Europe, and especially now we are in my home GP, and I'm really looking forward for the weekend. It's first time for me at a red plate at a home GP. I think it's first time for Latvia ever, to bring a red plate into Kagums. So it's quite special, but I don't put pressure on my shoulders. I just want to enjoy the racing. I hope many fans will come over to cheer me on, and I will try to do my best, and if I do my best, then I will be happy.
For sure, Latvia is always a track that I like. I try to do my best all the time on that track because I feel that I like the track and I have a good feeling with this little like sandy soil. And but this is this is racing. Crashing is a part of the job, and it was the time of me getting the red plate, and and the team, fortunately for him, he crashed. But this is the racing.
Oh! Geiser goes down big! Oh! He is hurt as well! Wow!
Germany was a very difficult race, but we won overall, and I'm really happy. I like the track a lot since also I have good memories from the Nations also in 2013 with Italy that we finished on the podium, my first ever Nations. So I always ride quite well on the track. It's very technical and a lot of ruts, and this is what I really like from a track.
went to Ernée with a good feeling. You know, we tested suspension change a little bit since Germany, and I was again focused and really ready to go. So I felt good. I really enjoy racing there. That was also, I would like to say, was one of my favorite GPs. You know, the French crowd is always amazing, and I was battling with Benoit Paturel in the second moto. So you know, just to battle with the French guy in the France is something special. So, but I was really happy to go home with the overall.
It was an action-packed MXGP race too, as Tony Cairoli grabbed the foxhole shot for the 6th time this year. Arminas Jasikonis went skidding to the canvas, so too did Jeffrey Hurlings. He was one of the last riders to pick himself up in a field full of 30 riders. Gauthier Paulin was 4th, but made an easy pass around the outside of his teammate Nagel to go 3rd as he went after Clement Dessalles and Tony Cairoli. No one wanted to give up any points in Moto number 2. Roman Fevre was one of those that you could say didn't want to give up any points at all. The mistake from Nagel, cross-rutted, sent him to the ground. He picked himself up, would eventually come home in 9th. But up front, it was Clement Dessalles who won his first race of 2017, and with it, the overall Grand Prix victory. Paulin, with 2nd, managed to get himself on the box. 3rd overall, Cairoli splitting the Belgian and the Frenchman this weekend.
In MXGP, Clement Dessalles won his first overall GP victory of the season. But the big news being, Tim Geiser did not race and has now lost his 2nd position in the championship chase. Tony Cairoli, however, sits comfortably at the top of the general standings. Au revoir.
Especially on the mud race, you know, in Russia, in this case, it's very important to get points, you know, even if they are like 2 or 3 or 25, doesn't matter, because you can really lose a lot of points on these conditions. You never know what can happen, and I was very careful race, you know, for me, and you know, I took the best of it with a good bunch of points. You know. So Tobiano was very nice race. Like I said again, there was Italian GP, which is very important for me, you know, for the fans, and also was very demanding physically because it was very hot. It's the hottest race of the year. So normally I can perform very good on this kind of weather, and I really like, you know, the track, you know, Tobiano. So we made a very good race. We won the GP, but also to work for the championship and make as much points as possible.
reason why I stayed in the MX2 team is that I've won 3 World Championships for them, for this current team, and I love being with this team, with those people. I've been with them for a long time, and everybody knows the situation that me and Tony, we're both going to race for a championship. Obviously racing is racing, and for sure if I'll have a little secret, then I don't want to tell it, and I think it's maybe the same on their side, but that's racing, of course, you know. But it's fun, but it's hard to put two riders who want to go for the same goal in the same team, you know. It's very tough to win this championship, but next year we go for it, and even this year we make the best of the situation, what's still possible.
Actually, every GP I go, I feel better and better and stronger in my head, and then I feel like I can fight with those guys up front. After winning the qualifying race, it was really good. It put me quite some pressure for a Sunday, because yeah, with winning, for sure you want to go on podium, but I made it best out of it, and it's been a really nice moment. It's something what I was always dreaming.
Jasikonis side by side with Jeffrey Hurlings.
This outside's going to be quick.
At the bottom of the hill.
Got it.
Great move there.
Watch Jasikonis here around the outside if he holds it on.
Great move that from Jasikonis. He does go through to first.
I think my goal is actually get as much experience I have for the next year to really start fighting next year for points and everything. But I don't look so much to result. I just wanna take best everything, get as much experience that I'm ready for next year.
Czech Republic, I was a little bit worried because normally on this track I struggle also a lot. But this year I train I train a lot on the RPEC more than in the sand. So I was very looking forward, you know, for this race. And yeah, we made the GP. We won the GP there, and you know, and after this race I already, you know, start looking more about the championship. So I start dropping a little bit. My training schedule was a little bit less than I did before, so you know, no risk also on the training, you know, to get injury. So after that race, I decide most of all the other races, you know, to go for the championship than just for the wins.
Actually, Loquet, you know, that's one of my favorite tracks. I really enjoy racing there, and I like the track. Last year I had a big crash there, which was, you know, maybe sitting somewhere behind in my mind, but you know, I jumped the jump where I crashed last year in the first lap straight away, so I took the monkey off my back straight away. And like the qualifier race, for sure it was one of the best races this season. I was riding really good, but maybe Sunday I stepped a little bit back and didn't ride so good, but still was a good race. There was no team orders on anything at all, you know. Lommel, you know, I like the track, you know, I like sand tracks, but you know, first moto I won, you know, was good, but then second moto I crashed in the start. I came from dead last to fifth, and we didn't lose any points, so that was a good weekend.
Ding ding, round 2 between Herlings and Cairoli, this time in Belgium. In MXGP we had a demonstration from the best sand riders in the world. After Ottobiano, Jeffrey Herlings felt he had something to prove, and the battle was epic. This time it was the Dutchman that won the fight, as well as the overall. It was also a KTM benefit, as all 3 Red Bull KTM factory riders stood on the podium in their premier class at Lommel. In Switzerland, Jeremy Seewer wanted to close the gap on Paul Jonas in front of his home crowd, but it wasn't that simple. In race 1 he almost crashed on the opening lap, but managed to win after a good battle with Jonas and Benoit Paturel. Race 2 was dramatic, as Seewer fell at turn 1. He picked himself up, but almost fell again after making contact with Julian Lieber in the air over the finish line jump. He eventually came home in 5th, but it was enough for the second step of the podium. But what a race. Khmer Yamaha's Benoit Paturel took his first ever overall win, Seewer was 2nd and Jonas was 3rd, but only 1 point was pulled back by the Swiss rider in the championship chase. Things didn't really go to plan for Seewer in Sweden either. In race 1 he finished 2nd, behind the young Spaniard Jorge Prado, after a good, solid performance. But in race 2, after a great start, the Swiss rider led for almost the entire race. But behind him, America's Tomas Covington came on strong at the end of the moto. He caught and passed Seewer in the final turn, snatching 3 valuable points in the process. So it was another good day for Jonas, who left Sweden 45 points clear of Seewer. In MXGP there was more drama. Tony Cairoli had a very difficult weekend, in contrast to Tim Geiser, who was the victor in race 1. Race 2, after a superb start, Jeffrey Herlings found himself in 3rd behind Geiser. The Slovenian then made a mistake and was passed by Herlings. Herlings then led, but his lead didn't last long. A handful of corners later, the bullet threw a chain and did not finish the race. It was a massive blow for the Bullet. His fight for the title was all but over. Roman Fevre won his first race of the year as Tim Geiser took his first overall win since Mexico. But Tony Cairoli was now more than 100 points clear at the top of the championship table.
Jacksonville for me was one of the nicest track of the entire season. I really liked the track. Very many line choices, and the dirt was very good. And you know, we had a good racing with Jeffrey. Yeah, I was a little bit tired, so I made a little mistake and I fell, but which was okay. You know, we moved from just 1 week. You know, it was not really a big problem, but you know. I would like to take the GP there in Florida because it was a very nice track. I really enjoyed the weekend and everything.
After Jacksonville, we are here at the Assen TT circuit, more commonly known as the Cathedral of Speed, for the 3rd year in a row. Welcome to Assen for the MXGP of the Netherlands.
I could easily, you know, finish in 15th place and still, you know, get a title on that first moto, but I wasn't attacking enough, you know, to get that win. But I was happy, you know, with that 2nd place because. You know, the title was there and a lot of family for me was there, so everything was perfect.
MXGP, the 2017 World Champion was crowned in Assen. Tony Cairoli has now got his 9th world title under his belt, only one less than Stefan Everts. But this weekend is all about the MX2 young guns. Either Jonas or Siwa will claim the title. 50 points on the table, 39 points separate the Swiss and the Latvian, so place your bets now.
I was relaxed, I get a good start, but then I made the mistake, crashed in the 2nd corner, get up, crashed again in the next corner, and I was like, hey, what's going on, man? You need to be focused. Then I took a deep breath and started to go and finish 5th, so that was enough for the championship. And you know, then it was good, you know, monkey was off my back and I could relax. You know, for the 2nd motor, I get a wheel spin on the gate, so I was not so good in the start. First laps, you know, everyone was battling and I was a little bit too cautious maybe. I was not riding so good the first laps, but then once I start to go in the 2nd moto, in the end actually I put the fastest lap of the moto, so that was pretty good. You know, I was happy with my riding. I finished 3rd, so just missed the podium, I think by 2 points. So yeah, it's good to finish the season on a pretty high note.
Tony Cairoli clinched his 9th World Championship title in Assen last weekend. But the suspense has gone down to the very last round in the MX2 class. Paul's Jonas took his first MX2 World Championship title, giving the Red Bull KTM factory racing team the perfect end to the season with 4 titles: the MXGP and MX2 Riders titles and the 2 manufacturers titles.
On a wet, sticky surface, the riders charged out of the gate for the first race. It was Glenn Koldenoff who grabbed the foxhole shot, the first of the weekend, but it was Max Anstey who quickly took the lead. Tony Cairoli ran up the inside of Gauthier Paulin and fell through the next couple of corners. Cairoli made a decent start for Team USA, but then he fell from 11th down to 17th. His race would get a little worse after that. Hunter Lawrence, though, was the lead MX2 rider for Team Australia. He harassed the boys on the 450s as Anstey almost came to grief with a collision with Cairoli, whose rear suspension had collapsed. Anstey led for Great Britain on home soil, pursued by the number 1 of Gauthier Paulin, the defending champions of France. And closing in all the time was Tim Geiser of Slovenia as Hunter Lawrence chased a top 4 position. Arno Tomas for Switzerland also in the mix. And Evgeny Bobashev not too far behind as they fought over 4th, 5th with Jeremy Van Horebeek 6th. Paulin got passed by Geiser with 4 laps to go. The Slovenian now in 2nd, but Anstey for Great Britain was too far ahead. And it was Anstey who would eventually round out the final few corners to take an impressive race win ahead of Tim Geiser and Gauthier Paulin. Hunter Lawrence came home 4th to be the first MX2 rider. Tomas was 5th, but France led after race 1, followed by the Netherlands and Switzerland. Race 2 saw the MX2 riders and the open class riders. Hunter Lawrence up the inside for Team Australia, looking for another good start. Jeffrey Hurlings almost looped out, but he rescued it and managed to take the 2nd foxhole shot of the afternoon. He quickly got himself into the lead, followed by the number 3 of Romain Febvre, Team France. In 24, Kurt Gibbs was also well placed for Australia, and Alessandro Lupino not too far behind. Christophe Charlier, the 2nd of the French riders, was also in a good position as Tomas Covington fell for the 3rd time. Zach Osborne, Team USA, doing his best to rectify a poor situation for the Americans, having to charge through the field. He did that in the latter stages of the race. He caught the 23 of Hunter Lawrence. Lawrence was impressive again for Australia as Hurlings fell from the lead, handing the advantage to Febvre of France. Febvre and Hurlings were in a major battle for the lead, and so too was Hunter Lawrence. He got himself higher up the field, and there was nothing in it between Febvre and Hurlings until Hurlings made a decisive move down the inside with a handful of laps to go. The Netherlands salvaging 1 more point. Lupino was impressive for the Italians. He eventually came home in 4th place. Kurt Gibbs was 5th for Australia. His young teammate got himself into 3rd with that pass on Lupino and then fell half a lap later down to 8th. But it was an impressive win for Hurlings from Febvre and Osborne. Coming into the final race, France led on 25 from the Netherlands. Australia, Switzerland and Great Britain had got themselves into 5th. And it was Max Anstey who grabbed the 3rd and final foxhole shot of the afternoon for Great Britain. Febvre was 2nd. Hurlings quickly found his way up the inside of Jeremy Van Horebeek to get himself into 3rd. But Anstey and Febvre were already disappearing at the head of the field. And then Anstey fell from the lead. He picked himself up, but it was Febvre who led for France. Herlings was closing in the background for the Netherlands. In third, Van Horebeek, he was in fourth for Belgium on what was a quiet day for one of the most successful nations in the history of this event. Seeley's rear suspension was worsened, but Anstey had clawed back a huge deficit. He made that pass on Romain Febvre to get himself back into the lead, and he was going after a class victory in MXGP in the individual stakes. He was also getting Great Britain towards a podium position. Febvre, riding without goggles, came unstuck. Herlings found his way through into second. Another point claimed back for the Netherlands. France, though, were in pole position. The battle really was between the Netherlands and Great Britain. Anstey came home to cross the line. First, he made it a double moto win. Herlings was second. Febvre was third. Jeremy Van Horebeek fourth for Belgium. Tim Geiser was fifth. But France win again. They are the world champions for the fourth consecutive time. Fifth now in their history. The Netherlands on the second step of the podium, but Great Britain making the podium for the first time in 20 years. Hunter Lawrence was the MX2 class winner. He also picked up the Ricky Carmichael Award. Jeffrey Herlings won the Open class, and Max Anstey was victorious in MXGP.
Time now to close the chapter on the 2017 season. The rain held off here in Matterley Basin, but only just for the 71st edition of the Motocross of Nations. After 3 strong races, Team France won the Chamberlain Trophy for the 4th year in a row, with Team the Netherlands and Team Great Britain rounding off that podium. Now's when the teams and riders will celebrate and take some much needed time out before heading into the 2018 FIM Motocross World Championship next year. So we'll look forward to see you then.